You're watching the Green Machine live here from Paris, and unfortunately, it hasn't been a good night for Stephen Kenny. It's finished 2-0 to France, and it really could have been a lot more, to be fair. I think in the end, Nick, it was a bit cat and mouse, wasn't it? No
Yeah,
price to
look.
guess which one we were.
Yeah, I think that's the best team in the world at the moment, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, we said it before in the pre-game. Stephen Kenny putting square pegs into round holes again. Some admirable performances there. I mean, they were trying to pick a man in the match at the end of the game. I think they gave it to Chidozie Ogbene. I don't know how he got it, to be honest. Very wasteful. A couple of lads did well. Alan Brown, to be fair to him, I know I give him a lot of slack, but did very well out of position. Stifled Mbappe. He was calm enough on the ball, but we were set up to try and stifle the French. They completely dominated us. So much space in midfield. There's, I never expected us to go and win in Paris. I never expected us to go and have the performance of our lives by any means. I mean, I thought we could have snuck a 0-0, but some of the glaring tactical issues were very obvious. The midfield was very open. When we were in possession, there was absolutely no game plan. There was nothing in the final third. That's been a recurring theme of the Stephen Kenny era. Disappointing night all round, Dave, but not overly surprised, sadly.
Yeah, actually, before I just continue, lads, as always, we are interactive. Leave your comments, get involved. Are you here in France? Are you on your way home? Were you watching home? Tell us what you thought of it. Is that the end of Stephen Kenny? Let us know in the comments, and we'll get to those. Yeah, it was quite disappointing. I thought Alan Brown did okay in the first half, but he was sort of being helped out a lot by Collins. He was up against Mbappe. But poor Ennis Stevens, he had an absolute dreadful night, didn't he? He was just... that lad used to be the second fastest player in the Premier League. And obviously he's had a hard time with injuries. And
it's a shame, Dave, because, when he was included, I thought he was deserving of a call-up. He's put a string of games together for Stoke, and I think he had to be rewarded. He's got experience. We needed experience tonight. Shane Duffy gave that experience, Ennis Stevens gave that experience. The problem is Ennis Stevens has had really bad injury issues for the last year. He got smoked a couple of times. James McLean came on from he was smoked himself a couple of times, but for the most part he was a little bit more mobile than Stevens. And hindsight's a great thing, but you'd imagine McLean possibly should have started. I mean, Stevens operating at a higher level, but I mean, in terms of mobility, in terms of that bit of pace, albeit marginal.
I thought he was cut out a few times. There was one there.
He was smoked a couple of times in the box.
It was a bad pass that got on there. But, I mean, it shows the problem that we don't have anyone as left wing back.
We don't, really. No. We don't. That's the problem. And, I mean, the only thing he could have done, and even tactical-wise, I mean, I know Ogbene has played way more advanced. Ogbene has played as a wing-back for Rotherham. I know he's with Luton now. He's playing a bit further up, but he has played as a wing-back when he was with Rotherham. And, maybe you could put him into that slot. I don't know. I mean, McLean has his limitations. As I said, when he came on, he had a bit of a mixed bag. He had a great delivery, great delivery for Jason Knight. Adam Ida, rather. Stevens, Stevens sadly is a great, excellent player, I think, overall, but sadly past it.
33 now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 33 now. Ryan Manning, we've discussed Ryan Manning. Yes, he's a talented guy. Yes, there's been a lot of clamours for him to come in, but lacks a lot of pace. I think he would have struggled there as well. So, someone like Ogbene, someone like Ebosele, it would be their weaker side out on the left, but it might have solved a few issues tonight. But having said that, I mean, sadly the loss looked inevitable fairly early on. But yeah, disappointing, Dave. It's very uninspired altogether, to be honest.
I mean, what are you thinking when you're Ryan Manning and you can't get ahead of a guy who hasn't been in the squad for 18 months, I think, or about a year, and he's 33, he's had lots of injury problems, and you still can't get in ahead of him. And even then, as a sub, McLean comes on.
To be fair now, I think Manning was carrying a knock, wasn't he? And he was named on the bench, and Stephen Kenny's probably thinking, well, I have McLean to cover. If needs be, I have Ebosele who can probably play out on the left as well. Stevens was an unusual, but as I said, he's got a string of games together for Stoke. He's actually doing quite well for Stoke. I'm seeing good reports from him, match reports and player ratings and stuff like that. But I think the glaring issue, Dave, was the way we were set up. I mean, defensively, spot on. I think I suppose coming into the final third, there was a lot of restriction. I think Mbappe probably could have had a bit more joy if he drifted out a little bit wider. There was a lot of space out wide that the French didn't exploit. But the issue was actually going forward. The issue was in possession. You know, Jason Malumbi, Dave, I know the fans love him. I know he's very popular. I know he's all kind of rough and tumble, but like on the ball, he's poor. He was out muscled so many times. He made very poor decisions. Chidozie Ogbene, very, very poor decision making. And, you know, people will say that that's down to the players, but at the end of the day, you could evidently see, and you probably saw from the stands, Dave, you know, we weren't set up going forward. Like you can see that, like we can't compare ourselves to the French. You can see how the French work like clockwork. They were doing flicks and stuff by the end of the game. But when you're just as much as you set up defensively and structurally sound, when you're going forward, you have to have structures in place as well. You have to be able to pull off patterns of play. And to be honest, like the passing was wayward. It was a little bit hopeful. Chidozie Ogbene, every time he got the ball, he had no idea what he was doing. There was no game plan. It was either to drive, to drive at the French. But when he had no space to run into, he either gave the ball away or he backtracked and gave the ball away by passing it back. So
yeah,
that's a glaring issue. Glaring issue, Dave.
Yeah, we had very little going forward. I thought Alan Brown going forward was actually quite decent. Now, obviously,
he had a good game, yeah.
He got done in the first half, very early on, but I think after that, then he sort of gave him a dig out, didn't he? But going forward, I thought he was okay. Played a nice ball into Ogbene's touch was dreadful, which seems to be the case. Although he should have made it 2-1. Perfect angle of it here. I don't know how the goalie got to it. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the French were toying with us. You had a Mexican wave. The only noise you heard from the fans across the way, very subdued. I know Martin was in the crowd and he said it, didn't he? He said it was just very subdued, just standing there like I am, with their arms folded. Yeah. Funny when he was singing Argentina to French.
It's the only thing to kind of discuss, wasn't it, from our perspective? And as I keep saying, Dave, look, it's France. I feel that they're the best international team in the world. Like in terms of teams to watch, they're excellent to watch, and you know our expectations have to be measured. Yeah, exactly. But you have to when you go to these teams, and when you have a bit of space on, you know, even in the opening quarter, we saw much space out wide. Like Alan Brown was unmarked so much because Mbappe was dropping in and he wasn't tracking him. Same on the other side, you know, Enda Stevens was free so much. We didn't exploit that. You know, Malumbi was very sloppy and he didn't lift his head a lot, you know, and it's disappointing because he's a guy I want to see do well. But look, it's
anyway, silly free there that almost led to a goal. Collins, Collins went for it, didn't get it, and you know it's one of those. It's always dangerous where it goes in and it looks like someone's going for it, it doesn't. But Zuna was very alert to it. There's a few of those. I mean, Mbappe, how he missed, he was offside. There was one, the header bounced. You know, that's the thing with a header, isn't it? That's what you're taught in school. Head downwards. That was the thing. Always head downwards. He had it downwards too much and it went over. It was really, really poor. I mean, we
got away with a few, yeah.
We really did. Do you think now, obviously, look, we're still in it somehow. We beat the Dutch.
We are, yeah. We actually are, believe it or not, yeah.
I don't know. I just think the air has gone out of it. Stephen Kenny, I think, you know, I watched him down there in the touchline and he looked just very sort of hands on his hips. He looked very, not comfortable at all. Just, I wouldn't say forlorn, just agitated, just constantly agitated, you know. And he's just...
Well, I think Stephen Kenny would have been going into this game believing he could have gotten a result. And even, I remember looking at it on 75 minutes, we weren't playing particularly well, but there was a shot of Stephen Kenny and he was kind of clapping and he was kind of shouting at the lads. And I remember thinking, in his head, he must think, we might be able to get 2 goals back here. You know, like he's a believer, but he's not following through with it, sadly. And the problem is, Dave, and this is something that I keep bringing up, it's the inconsistencies. It's the inconsistencies with Stephen Kenny. Yeah. We could, now I don't expect us to beat the Dutch on Sunday, but we could go and have a completely different performance against the Dutch. We could be a lot more structured going forward. We could have an excellent game, and who knows, we could pull off a result. And then all of a sudden, the argument is, well, Stephen Kenny deserves more time. But Dave, this has been a running team for a couple of years. We have a good game, then we have a shit game. And Stephen Kenny's been very fortunate in the last several international windows that he's played weaker opposition, leaving the international window. And when your last game, I know I'm probably repeating myself here, Dave. I say every time we have an international window, but when you finish an international window with a victory, no matter if it's against Gibraltar or Lithuania or whoever, once you have a victory, that is the narrative. That is the narrative for the next few months. you know. And as I said, if we get a result against the Dutch, people will say, "Yeah, we lost to France, but look how we recovered." It's
We
similar
see,
to the
I,
Scotland game. We were awful against Ukraine, then we beat Scotland. People were saying, "Oh, we were fantastic against Scotland," and then we nearly lost to Armenia. You know, so
we haven't played well though since
no,
Scotland away, and we lost that one. We haven't played well since
yeah,
then. I mean, the game against Armenia, we were 2-0 up, and then they got two mistakes by two senior players,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden like we're fine. We got a 3-2, and then you've got the November window. We talked about that, bringing an experienced squad, learning nothing from that instead of giving the fringe players a go. You know, so he immediately shrinks his pool. He lost a couple of players probably for that. And then, March, I mean, it wasn't that great, was it? I mean,
no.
Latvia 3-2 again, 2-0 up against a team, let's be honest, should be hammering them at home. And, France, okay, it was brave and one mistake cost us. And then, we play um, Greece away. We got absolutely mullered. And then, we were poor against Gibraltar.
We were, yeah.
Right, we were poor against Gibraltar. And there's a header from the goalkeeper that led to a goal. And it just hasn't been good. It hasn't been good for a very long time.
It's the inconsistencies, Dave. And as I said, we're not going to beat the Dutch on Sunday. But if we get a result, as I mentioned, people will say, "Oh, look, what a comeback! What Stephen Kenny."
I don't think they will,
time.
Nick. I don't think they will. No, I'm not kidding you now. I was looking at that. It wasn't full.
Well, it is flatter. Yeah.
It wasn't full across the way. We mentioned when we walked into the ground, it felt like people, it was a chore. People coming to work, not to support the team. I was like, "Oh, that's what we do, so we go." Yeah. And there wasn't a peep. There was very little from the away fans. It wasn't a lot for them, to be fair.
Well, the thing is, Dave, you want progression. You want progression with every game. And you mentioned there about the Malta game. We keep coming back to that Malta game because that was an opportunity for Stephen Kenny to stretch his player pool. We have a very limited player pool, a very, very limited player pool. The fact that we had to play an attacking midfielder at right back today shows that we haven't maximized the depth over the last couple of years. Stephen Kenny will credit himself as capping a load of new players since he's come into the job. I was looking through the Scotland squad, the Scotland player pool over the last couple of years. Now, albeit Scotland do have more players, but they have literally, maximized their pool. They've capped lads. They've brought in uncapped players in nearly every window. And because of that, they've created depth. Now, I'm not saying we would have the same quality player as Scotland, but what I'm saying is if Danny McNamara was given a chance against Malta back in that friendlies last year, Fessi Obazelli was in a squad. I think was it against
Previous
Ukraine?
managers have done it. Managers have done it. Mick used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
US Cup or whatever, and he brings just a load of fringe players. Even Steve Staunton did it. Do you remember back in 06?
But it gives players players international experience. And coming back to my point there, if the likes of McNamara and Fessi Obazelli were played in the last 12 months or so, you would have had a viable right back option to come in there. Now, as I said, look, Alan Brown did fine tonight, but even the likes of Jack Taylor, very, very highly rated. Wasn't Darren McAnthony said he reckons he'll be a Premier League footballer in the next couple of years. Like, there was ample opportunities to cap him. We're short on midfield options. Someone like Taylor, I haven't seen Taylor, so I can't judge it, nor can Kenny. But someone like Taylor could have come in and done a better job than Jason Malumbi. So, exactly. So we don't know our full. Like, Stephen Kenny will keep going on about the depth he's created, but we don't actually know the full extent of the depth because we're playing players out of position, and because we're constantly. Well, Kenny is constantly rewarding very, very average performances and capping lads over and over again.
He seems to be very loyal to the same players over and over again. Like, I mean, he promised a revolution when he came in, and we haven't had that. We haven't had a revolution.
We passed the ball. We passed the ball around, but without much purpose. Like Dave, the thing is as well, like Kenny will talk about, I've transformed the style of play. That style of football at international level was in fashion about 10 years ago, but now it's about what you do in the final third. It's what you do in the center of the park. What we're doing is passing the ball around the back four, the back three, and the goalkeeper.
One of the massive problems we have, right, and it was evident there today, and the way football is played now, it's all about pressing in the midfield. The game is won and lost in midfield. You win, you lose the ball, you win it back in midfield, your midfield wins it back, and then you press on with the forwards. We don't do any of that. We're very passive. We're very lethargic. I mean, look at the first goal. The first goal was caused because none of the lads were quick enough going out. They weren't sharp enough going out.
Very, very slow to press.
That's another long range goal that's gone in. The second one was just was just calamity, really. It was Alan Brown. He had a very good first half. He did fall apart, to be fair. And now I know Kenny moved him into midfield. I think Brown had a very good first half. Actually, I don't think he had a very good game. He had a very good first half.
Yeah.
First half, but the game was played over 2 halves, and I think he got exposed there a little bit. Now, look, he's not a right wing back, so that's not really his fault.
Yeah, we have to we have to give him credit where credit's due there. And when he came, and ironically enough, when he actually went into midfield, which is his natural position, he actually didn't play that well. But he was probably knackered by then. To be brutally honest.
Yeah, they look, Collins was giving him a dig out. There was 2 lads on Mbappe. That's what you got to do, because Mbappe is just absolutely class. I mean, I thought we were going to have an obligatory third goal from.
Yeah.
They're all just wheeling it into the back of the net. It's very deflating. Obviously, I think we best start getting into the comments, guys. I see them coming in. Do keep coming in. Do you think will we get a result against the Dutch? If we do, will Kenny stay on? Give us a shout. Let us know. Hopefully, my voice keeps up, because it's still. What temperature is it here? Hold on, let me have a look. It is still incredibly warm here. 25 degrees.
Wow.
Do you know? Actually, I brought a towel with me. And
later on, is it?
No, that's the baby wipes. I actually do have those as well. No, but I brought a towel with me, and Martin was like, "Oh, what you got that for?" It's like, because I have to be on camera, Martin. I have to look beautiful for my audience, my people. That's why. So right, let's get into the comments. McGonagall. I think I'm saying that right. How you doing, McConnell? I think you're a new. I haven't seen one of your comments before. Very welcome on our YouTube channel. Shambles over performance. Couldn't pass the ball. Another white shirt, or get out of our half. Set up to stop them and looked like nothing like it. Desperate. Adam Kavanagh, how you doing, Adam? All right, lads. Hello from Vancouver. Good man.
Good to hear from you, Adam. Yep.
Yeah. Didn't expect much from tonight, but we didn't embarrass ourselves. No, I mean, bit of scoreline flattery, Adam. But anyway, Benny, Knight, Collins at times played out of their skin. They were excellent. I thought Duffy was excellent as well, actually. Malumbi contributed
he did well.
Nothing. He did, and was surprised to see him start over O'Shea. French were excellent to watch from a game management perspective. At times they were strolling, practically playing in their slippers. Yeah. But knew when to make a tactical foul, stop any of our progress going forward, something we used to be very good at, I think. Well, it's just kind of tailed off there. Yeah, I mean, look, when you're watching them pass the ball at them, and especially live now, watch them live here twice, they just caress the ball. And, and we have to work to try and pass the ball because it's not natural to us. They just caress it. It's really something to watch. Depressing, but it's really something. Pat Scott on Facebook, you're interactive, unlike our team. Well, we do try, Pat. Thank you very much. Paul Culleton, how you doing, Paul? You can't really be disappointed with the players against a team who are much better than them. Hard to believe we're still making the same mistakes, conceding from outside and also conceding after half time. That's a point there, though, isn't it? Paul's got a point, as always.
Yeah.
Same mistakes. It's the same.
Yeah, same mistakes. But the other point from Paul there, like, I mean, we weren't going to go out and do anything revolutionary against the French. But what kind of irks me is Stephen Kenny keeps banging on about how he's changed the style of play, how he wants his passing. Like, I watched the Greece-France match back, and Greece held the possession very, very well, against the French. So,
yeah,
you have to go toe-to-toe with these teams. You have to challenge them. Like, Rabbi, like, if you're looking at that midfield, like, Griezmann is an attacking player playing in midfield. He doesn't necessarily do the dirty work. And Rabiot, I think, is a bit of a spoofer. So, if you try and press them with the right players, I think if you had maybe Smallbone and Jason Knight maybe in the I hate using this term, but in the pivots and Cullen kind of as a holder, maybe 2 wingers outside rather than a back 3, then maybe you take on the midfield a bit. You won't come out on top all the time, but you might put up a better performance, and you might have more of a chance in the final third than we did today, because it was really just Jason Malumbi very, very static. Josh Cullen trying to do a defensive job that, he did all right, Cullen, but, he did struggle a bit. And then you've Ogbene, running into brick walls. And then you've Jason Knight playing maybe a little bit too far advanced. He was excellent, by the way, Jason Knight. But, I would have liked to have seen him playing a little bit deeper in the field, maybe being able to get on the ball a little bit more. He was playing kind of wide, excellent when he was on the ball. But we probably needed that tidiness in midfield. And he was just a little bit out of position, I think.
That Martin's actually, so I'm going to get it up there now. You are in a second, but Martin just sent a video there. He was over in the away end tonight of the players coming over, very flat. He says we're going to move it on there. Apologies, I've lost. Do you know what's happened? A load of comments have just come boom, 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 straight through. There we go. McConnell again. Remember, with apparently worse players, worse football, apparently worse managers, we actually competed above the sum of our parts against these larger teams. Yeah, we didn't really compete tonight. I mean, it looked like there was little. You know, my mate sent me a text there, and I know he's watching. How are you, Frank? Throw him under the bus. And he said, like, there were moments, but septic. And I said, what, are you talking about the rain, or are you talking about the match? But genuinely, and he goes, both, really. Just moments where it looked like we could do something and just fell down in the final third. Maybe septic overall is a bit, I think septic overall is obviously a bit harsh. Tonight, it just wasn't good at all. And yeah, we just didn't compete. Dennis there, I've gone there. We were completely suffocated in central midfield. Ogbeni for pretty much only outball for 2/3 of the game. That's it. Yet again, you know, against a team like France, I would have gone for 5 midfield. I would have gone to smother the midfield, Nick. You're not gonna play them. You're not gonna outplay them.
No. We've seen Kenny go. We've seen Kenny go for kind of a 4 midfield before, hasn't he? You know, he's gone for kind of a 2 holders. He used to go with Cullen, Hendrick, and then you go for Jamie McGrath and Alan Brown in front. You know, as the kind of attacking pair where it did against Serbia. I think it didn't necessarily work out, but if you're going to flood the midfield, you do that. If you're relying on Chidozie Ogbene, who, as I said, he's a fan favorite. He's a great attitude. He works his bollocks off. He's a great lad. You know, he comes up with important goals. But if you're relying on Chidozie Ogbene for all your productivity, he is a limited player. You are in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's a super sub. Oh, the bat just gone past there. He's a super sub. He's a super sub. You know, he's not really. Although to be fair to the lad towards the back end of, you know, last season, because he was on fire for Rotherham. You know, Rotherham are what they are. You know, he hasn't played a lot of games for Luton in the Premier League as well, so he's not in great form either, is he? Not saying he's terrible, but he's just not getting the games.
He's not terrible. He's limited. You know, he's not technically fantastic. His left foot is great.
But club level though, he's not getting a lot of form though, is he? He's not getting
no, and you know, I mean, what is he now? He's about 25, 26. He needs to be playing games. He needs to be developing. You know, it's disappointing. But as I said, like he has a role. He certainly has a role in this Ireland team. He's been very, very important.
Oh yeah.
And in central positions as well, like central positions that he pops up with a lot of the goals. But when you're relying on it, when you're putting a massive attacking burden on him, sadly he just hasn't got the capabilities of taking that on.
No, absolutely. You know? We'll keep it moving. Paul Cullis, I knew this was coming. Bat's gone past again. The FA, I just don't want to come at my hair. I don't have any. Actually, they don't actually do that, bats. They're very misunderstood creatures, bless them. They don't go for your hair. Although it's barely a snack around here. Paul Culleton, the FAI sacked a successful manager in Vera Pauw. Surely, if we don't win on Sunday against the Netherlands, it will be Stephen Kenny's last match as Ireland senior men's manager.
More or less confirmed, didn't they, back before in the last window, that if Stephen Kenny didn't get was it a point or was it 3 points in this window that he'd be sacked?
2 points, I believe.
2 points, yeah. So look, if he beats the Dutch, he'll still be in the job. But like I don't know. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, Breen, obviously part of the podcast, hasn't been on in a long time, but he feels that there is money there if they want it. You know, they can find money from somewhere. Like football is a massive industry, and they can find a way of I suppose getting rid of Stephen Kenny and bringing in a replacement. But I just don't know, Dave. You'd imagine that the game is up. You can see by the flatness today, the inconsistency is the big thing, but the flatness in the last several games is very telling. And you know, I don't see how he improves. Anthony Barry leaving was massive, and I don't
think
he's
never recovered from that.
No, and John O'Shea and Keith Andrews don't have the experience to back up Kenny. He needs an experienced coach or assistant manager in there, and he just doesn't have it.
He was cute. He was very cute, Anthony Barry, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. He was very, very cute. The way it was set up for set pieces, he was really, really good at that. And we've just never recovered. Just haven't recovered.
No.
Comments again on YouTube. Q Kenny. Bad luck with injuries and a very warm night. These are quotes that McConnell is putting in Kenny's mouth. Festi given his debut and big opportunity and big night. Full house against the Dutch on Sunday. I don't think it will be, but
no, I don't think it's looking that way. Isn't it? According to Martin, anyway, based on ticket sales and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not great. By the way, you guys watching, because we can't access the press conference. if you're watching or Stephen Kenny's interview, give us a few quotes. Tell us what he said, because there's no way for us to.
Yeah, he's come off now anyway. Yeah.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah.
Sebastian Knowlton, one day closer to turning our attention to the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. That's fair. Michael Foley, beat the Dutch. We can't even score. That's what we were talking about earlier on. Fair enough. Ken Gorry, how are you doing, Ken? We're completely toothless in the final third. Absolutely. Easy for me to say. Denador of Gondar. Draw against Holland possible, but I just don't see us beating them. That won't be enough. Won't be enough to keep them in the job if you're to believe the rumours. Archduke 8199, how you doing, Archduke? Lads, if the Dutch give us a going over, and suddenly is Kenny gone? I'd say so.
I think so. Yeah, has to be. It's not even the results, Dave. It's the nature of the performances, and people will say he set us up correctly today. You know, you have to attempt to keep the ball. You have to attempt to keep the ball.
Yeah, no, you have. Look,
you can set up defensively, but you also have to set up to attack as well. And we weren't going to beat France, but you have to have a bit of possession. You have to show a bit of vigor in possession. And worse teams, Dave, like the likes of Kazakhstan, the likes of Georgia, these kind of nations are getting more adept at holding possession, and we still aren't quite there.
Look, here's the thing as well, right? If you look at previous managers, and I'm going to go over my little history lesson here. You look at previous managers, right? You look at Mick McCarthy. 96 started off, wasn't great, made a lot of mistakes. 97, started to get the hang of it towards the end. 98, bit better. 99, very close to qualifying. 2000 to 2002, forget about Saipan. He got better. It was a constant evolution. You look at Brian Kerr towards the last few matches of his tenure, it was just crumbling. And I think we're at that situation with Stephen Kenny now. I'm not happy about it. No one was happy about it. You know, I don't want to see a man lose a job. And I know this job means so much to him. He's a lovely man. He's a gentleman. We've met him. He's a good footballing man. But at the end of the day...
It's not enough at the moment, though, sadly.
It's not going to be enough. And you're watching performances just disintegrate now, you know, and the warning signs were there towards the back end of last year. That's why, with the 3-2 against Azerbaijan, that when we're cruising at 2-0 up, that's why November was so important. For me, that was the start. That for me was the start, because I think he isolated so many players on the fringe, and you need those guys. You need to step in. You know, when someone gets injured, look at all the injury problems we have now. He's gone back to type. He's gone back to Enda Stevens.
Yeah. But the other thing, actually, no, I might hold off because I see a comment coming in there, Dave. That's actually worth discussing.
Okay,
I'll hold off. Yeah, I'll hold off on that point for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Moving on, Brandon Walsh. Why does Kenny persist with this 3-5-2 formation? He's gone against everything he said he'd do in terms of style of play and playing attacking football when he got the job. 100%, Brandon. I think that's another fear as well. I think Stephen Kenny, and I'm not saying this to have a go at him. I'm saying what I see, and what I've seen over the last while is that he's kind of promised one thing, and he sort of, for whatever reason, he sort of backpedaled on a lot. And I think he's got to the stage now, like the top managers, like your Klopps, your Guardiolas, those guys, even Jack, you know, back in the day, stick to their guns. They, you know, you look at Pep Guardiola, got rid of Joe Hart, and people are going mental. He's a top goalkeeper. He's England's number one. Why are you getting rid of him? Because he can't pass the ball. And he stuck to it until he got a goalkeeper that could. And look what they're doing. The top managers stick by their principles no matter what, through thick and thin, because they know eventually they'll get there. They'll get through that tunnel, and they'll get to the other side of it. And
the issue there, Dave, is I think he'd massive trust in Anthony Barry, and massive admiration for Anthony Barry.
And rightly so.
And I think a lot of the system and a lot of the tactics and so on are Anthony Barry's. I don't think they're necessarily Stephen Kenny's. They may have been adapted by Stephen Kenny, but he's taken massive inspiration from Anthony Barry. It hasn't worked, but he's kept coming back to it, you know. And some of the players, as I said, we seem to have a star in every single international window. It was Callum Robinson about 2 years ago, wasn't it? Then it was Michael Obafemi this time last year. Yeah. You know, then Chidozie Ogbene as well. And obviously some of those guys have had injuries, but then, you know, those players dip off, they have inconsistent form, and they're still backed. You know, Alan Brown, look, very good tonight, but Alan Brown keeps getting backed when he's not necessarily playing well. You know, Jason Malumbi as well. He's had flashes of brilliant physicality in games, but over 90 minutes, he gives the ball away a lot. He's very sloppy. Exactly. Hendrik Harahan eventually, nearly stung us against Armenia, and that was the nail in the coffin for him. But he's trusting he's rewarding mediocrity again and again and again, and people are wondering why isn't anything changing. And it's partly because he isn't changing the system, he isn't changing the formation, and he isn't changing the personnel. So you have to make these big calls to adjust things, and he just hasn't done it. Happened with Giovanni Trapattoni as well. Happened with Trapattoni, he went stale with Trapattoni, and then Martin O'Neill, it just went completely rogue. Went apeshit at that stage. But you have to shake things up, and he just hasn't. He hasn't been brave enough.
It goes stale with every manager. Like that's just football. That's just what happens. You have that period, you have that building period, you make mistakes, you learn. You get up to that mountain, you keep there as long as you can. Then you might have a little peak. You might have a little trough, and you try to go up again. Very difficult international football for club. You can go out and buy whoever you want. International, you can't do that. You are relying on the pool, and we don't have a system in Ireland where we can develop our own players. We're relying on other countries to do that. So it's even more difficult for our manager now. I'm not trying to say, he doesn't have the players. I think he does have the players. I think he does have the players that can become greater than some other parts. And I think you'll agree with me on this. Don't mean to put words in your mouth, but he's not getting the best out of them. He's playing.
No, and that's going to bring us. And hold that thought, Dave, because there is a comment coming up where I want to bring that point up. Yeah. But I would agree he's not getting the best out of players. No. A couple of players, like I think he's gotten the best out of James McLean, a 34-year-old James McLean.
It's delivery.
I think James McLean's play. I honestly think James McLean's played some of his best football for Ireland under Stephen Kenny. I think Chidozie Ogbene, even though his directness can suffer a little bit, because his end product isn't fantastic. I think Stephen Kenny's also gotten a lot out of him. I think the likes of Nathan Collins as well, I think he's gotten a huge amount out of. But there's a lot of players who are playing much better for their clubs than they are for Ireland. Josh Cullen, an example. There's a few examples. Malumbi's another example. So. Yeah, but again, we'll come back to that because we'll come back to points on that. Yeah,
let's get the L comments moving there again. James Harlan, how you doing, James? Kenny has to go now. 3.5 years too long, and no passion, no determination, lack of ideas. Bring in Duff or Lee Carsley now. We probably lost the opportunity with Lee Carsley. Duff, probably a little bit inexperienced.
I think we've lost the opportunity with Duff as well because I don't know if he'd want to work with the FAI again, but. The thing with Duff is, Duff knows his stuff. He's very, very highly rated. He's done an unbelievable job at Shells. Very, very limited resources there. He's gotten very involved in the club as well. I have a cousin who's involved in Shelburne as well, and I've just heard that he's a lot more involved than maybe portrayed in the media. I think cars they could get out and go out and get cars. Like there is options. Maybe it's not one to talk about tonight, but it could be one that we're talking about this time next week.
Yeah, you never know. The decision might be made for us. We might be doing a spontaneous one. Aidan McCarthy, how you doing, Aidan? It's a time maybe to think about 2028 as a once-off that may be kept. One Ireland team. Both North and us are realistically in the same boat. Lots of young players, some very good ones too. Use it as a reconciliation thing and automatic qualification for both. That way, maybe. As for now, need a change. They still have a chance to make playoffs based on other groups, not ourselves. Kenny has done all he can, in fairness. I would madly go for Keane now to get a bit of structure and try to. Well, that comments.
I don't fully agree with that because and I don't fully agree with Stephen Kenny's narrative that I was planning for the Euros because how has that gone? Like we went out of the World Cup qualification very, very early. Yeah. We've gone out of the European Championships very, very early. Like the campaigns have been over before they've even fucking started. And you can plan as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like you lose campaigns, you lose years. We have a number of players playing in the Premier League. We have a number of players playing in the Championship. The Championship is one of the best leagues in Europe, and people completely dismiss it. Like we do have players who are playing against international players every single week, and there's worse international teams on paper anyway that are performing better than us. So I don't really agree with this whole dismissing things. Football is a results game, and this whole long-term development thing. That's what the underage systems are for. That's what the underage systems are for. You can have a player that comes out of nowhere, like Evan Ferguson. Like when we have an unbelievable player like Evan Ferguson, why don't we build a team around him now? Why don't we try and get results now? You don't plan for years and years and years because we could have another player that comes out of nowhere and then all of a sudden you have a team. I don't like this whole forward planning thing. It's a results game, and we've lost 2 campaigns. Not in a bad way as well, Dave, but like you could have people in their later stages of life, and they've lost 2 campaigns. Simple things like that. You can't keep losing them.
But there hasn't been any progression. That's the problem, isn't it? Like you could see shoots, you could see towards that World Cup campaign. the first major crack that he had at it, and you think, okay, should it be Portugal? We were robbed against Portugal, the one at home. We were very good against Luxembourg, gave them a spanking. I'm thinking, here we go, some progress here. Nations League, all right, made a mistake in the games, Azerbaijan and Yerevan, and Ukraine at home. Hendrick and Cullen midfield did not work.
Yeah.
And then, you see the game against Scotland, give them 3-0. You think, here we go now. And I wrote an article even saying it. We've arrived now. And, it was good against Ukraine. I thought, here, this is all right. Best ever performance in the Nations League, funnily enough. Ironically, that's not exactly a high bar. And then you just, November, I'm not going to keep going on about it, but then November happens and you go,
He's not learning. Even today, Dave, 3 recurring teams. We can see the goal from long range, not closing the ball down quick enough. And we can see the goal right after halftime. Recurring team. Yeah, and the other thing as well, this is something Dan McDonald pointed out against Ukraine at home. The midfield too, getting overrun completely. And, I didn't expect us to dominate the French midfield, but, that was a glaring issue a year ago. He went to a midfield 3 then, and then he's gone back to a midfield 2 against the best team in the world. Like, he's not learning. He's not reflecting correctly on these mistakes.
No, and that's there's only one way that's going to go, isn't there? Denador of Gunder, again, he replied to Archduke. This is about if Kenny's gone, if we lose to Holland. He says, yes, we lose convincingly 3 or 4-0, then definitely yes, in my opinion. This is coming from someone who actually likes Kenny. As a coach, I just feel the wheels have slowly come off his tenure. Yeah, totally agree. What
you don't want, Dave, is a battling 0-0 or a battling performance where we lose and they say, look, we'll give him more time. You don't want that. You don't want that.
Do you know what though? I don't think that would save him. I really don't.
It shouldn't. But we're talking about the FAI here.
I like Kenny as well. I do like him. He's a lovely man. He's a football man. It's not personal, but gotta call it as I see it. And I don't think even that would be enough. I saw it tonight. I'm pointing over to the way end over there, and I saw it tonight. And that's going to come to another comment here I've seen. The air has gone out of this, and I think that people have lost belief. We're not stupid. The people, and I know it goes against popular opinion, but people in the FAI aren't stupid. They've got eyes. Now, obviously, the Vera Pauw thing, that's a whole different story. But there's people in there that are going to be looking at that going, it's going backwards. It's not going in the right direction. And Rob mentioned, actually, here's the comment here. Sorry, it's right in front of me. Lads, is it me or is the excitement going into games gone? I remember 2014 before Germany, etc. Had these big games. I'd be so nervous and excited, expecting something. Tonight, pre-match nerves. I just knew what the outcome would be. Sad, really. Yeah.
And I'm glad Rob has said that, because I completely I completely relate there. Completely. Like I said to you, Dave, I don't know if I said it off air in the pre-game, but I'm a bit obsessed with the Irish. I have been since I was about 7 or 8 years of age. They've just been look, as you get older, they're not as much your heroes as they are, especially when the lads are younger than you, when the lads are younger than you and all that. But yeah, I would get the pre-game nerves. I'd be shitting it during games. I'd be very anxious watching games, and that has gone. That has drifted out in the last couple of years. I don't think it's necessarily Stephen Kenny. Maybe it's the fact that a generation of players that I grew up with are all retired now. I don't know what's to do with that. I don't find it as inspiring. I find the players very likable. I find the current crop very likable. I find them all about the fans, and I really, really admire that. But there's something I don't get the same.
That's probably why we're not in a good position, because you don't want the players to be all nice and kissing, going around kissing babies.
I just don't get that same feeling, and it hurts me at the moment. And I don't know if it's because obviously, for the last 15 years or so, I've been writing about football. I've been writing about the Irish team. I've been obviously contributing on this and contributing on different websites and channels and stuff like that. But I don't know if that formalization of it takes the enjoyment out of it. But for the last 2 years at least anyway, definitely since I suppose when things started going south with Stephen Kenny early in the World Cup qualification, those nerves, that kind of emotion, that emotional feeling that I have during games, before games, whatever, it's definitely dwindled, and that saddens me. But I'm glad someone else is feeling that, and I'm hoping that comes back fairly soon, whether it's with Stephen Kenny or someone else. I don't care.
Well,
But it is reflective of where we are at the moment, sadly.
You always, like, I'm not saying I'm hoping for this, but you always get it when a new manager comes in. You always get the new manager bounces down a party, you would say. But anyway, right, let's crack on with these anyway, because I'm just looking at the time there. It's 11:30 local time, and I need to get home. Got an early train in the morning. Michael Foley, guys, honestly, we don't have the players and our manager. Need to change the manager. Any hope of 2026? Start grooming the under 21s.
This is the one I wanted to come on today. Just come back to, and sorry, we're tight for time, but in terms of not having the players, we have, I think, a better squad than we did under Mick McCarthy for the Euro 2020 campaign. Like we David McGoldrick playing up front. We had a 36-year-old or something, Glenn Whelan playing holding midfield. We'd Richard Keogh playing centre half. The issue with that is, like, we've players, but it's the whole square pegs into round holes issue. Unbalanced teams, no structure. And under Martin O'Neill, we saw him getting the best out of certain players. Even Giovanni Trapattoni. An example there is, like, if Sean St. Ledger was available for us right now when he was 25, he wouldn't get in that Ireland squad. When Sean St. Ledger, who was a limited enough player, was playing for Giovanni Trapattoni got the best out of him. Liam Lawrence is another example. Giovanni Trapattoni got a lot out of Liam Lawrence. So, there's limited players and there's not having the players, but some managers can get the best out of certain players. And Kenny, the only player I think Stephen Kenny's gotten a huge amount out of is James McLean, who's coming towards the end of his international career. Possibly Chidozie Ogbene, who's also been horribly inconsistent for us. And that's all I can really think of. The other lads are extremely talented. Nathan Collins is a very talented guy. Some of the experienced players have been around the block for a long time. Gavin Bazunu as well has had decent performances, but I don't think that's down to Stephen Kenny. Evan Ferguson, again, I actually don't think he's been maximised for Ireland. So there's excellent players for Ireland that aren't actually being maximised by Stephen Kenny either. So, we can talk about not having the players, but you do need a manager to maximise a system that'll get the best out of the players, and to coach and manage players to get the best out of them individually. And it hasn't happened under Stephen Kenny. Hasn't.
No, it's and
it can under someone. I fully believe it can under somebody.
I do. I believe a coach can get the best. We could do a lot better. Just looking at the table, and then we're going to crack on with these comments, because I do need to get home. The table right now stands: France 5 games, 15 points. Netherlands 3 games, 6 points. Fair enough. Even if they get maximum points, 9, 12. Okay, not too bad. Ireland 4 played for 3 points. Netherlands did beat Greece tonight as well, and Greece are third on 6 points. So it's not great at the moment, but yeah, we're still on with a shout somehow. France just going to spank this group, aren't they? Right, moving on, lads. Paul Culleton, 5 wins in 25 competitive matches. Never seen a record this bad because a manager is sacked at this stage. Also, don't forget, he knew he was getting the job in November 2018 before taking over in April 2020. That's a fair point. Quickly, that kind of gets overlooked. People like to say that, don't they? That, he knew. Is that a fair criticism, or harshly, as quick as you can?
Sorry, Dave, I missed that really quickly because I was just checking something there.
Basically, he knew he was getting the job in 2018, so should be more prepared. But is that really fair? Because you hear that from a few people. Does that really make a difference? Because you were taking over the under 21s anyway. So,
well, I think he was prepared, and I think he had plans. He planned playing a 4-3-3. We had a lot of misfortune early in COVID times. He was missing a lot of players, and then we lost a lot of momentum. We couldn't score goals. Then Anthony Barry came in, and that's where I think a lot of the overhaul started. Yeah. And then when Anthony Barry left, I feel that's where Stephen Kenny was inspired by him, but lost his way without Anthony Barry. I don't know if I explained that properly, but that's how I feel. I think he was prepared, though. I think he had a lot of visions, but he went kind of rogue fairly swiftly.
When he had Duff, didn't he? And then it was part
exactly. His plans were fucked basically from early on.
He has had, but whatever you say about the man, whether he's up to or not, he has had rotten luck. Lee Highland is not a fan of Kenny. He wants him gone. I won't read out his comment. Adam Kavanagh, comparing the two benches tonight, I can imagine Carvigna asking Jeff Hendrick what a Sheffield Wednesday is. Good man. Sebastian Knowlton, to get a jump on the inevitable Kenny replacement talk. Garcia has been extended in England since our last window of matches. Houghton is now occupied with Ghana. He's waiting in the wings at this point. Well, I wouldn't have Chris Houghton, to be fair.
Yeah.
Lee
Well,
Carsley.
there's talk that there's a clause with Carsley, isn't there? So
And it's a 1 year rolling
I
contract.
don't think it'd be a massive issue. Yeah.
It's still Carsley. It's still Carsley for me. He's a 1 year rolling contract. What have we got to lose? He's working with elite players. He's got international experience, albeit at youth level. Give him a chance. Works for Southgate. Paul Cullerton, tonight has to be the last game for Enda Stevens for senior Irish team. I think so. Delighted to see Fessy make his debut. He could be a very important player for us over the next decade with his pace and tricks. Yeah, he did come into a bit of a shit show there tonight, bless him. Katrina Nolan, how are you, Katrina? Playing out from the back is a noble idea, but it looks so dangerous at times, and we need to be better at switching it up. In recent years, we were known as a team that was good from set pieces. That seems to have gone out the window in pursuit of a prettier style that hasn't eventuated. Now, we can't score from open play or from set pieces. Surely in a transitional phase, you keep the good from the old and bring in the new element slowly. Totally agree with that. He's sort of taken away, I don't want us to be over reliant on set pieces. I want us, so he's dismantled that, but he hasn't built the other part of it properly. And now we're left with two things we don't do very well, So, yeah, Katrina, great point. So my laptop is probably about to explode from the heat. Larry Cusack, someone needs to come in and clean house of the FAI.
Yeah, different argument though, isn't it? Sadly.
That's a whole different stream. Not public on YouTube for a number of reasons. The Kenny tenure has been a failure. If you started the team of youngsters tonight, there may be some interest. It's boring, flat team. Alan Brown, for F's sakes. Is that you, Nick? Is it? Glenn Forbes, hi lads. How you doing, Glenn? I have to say I got what I expected. I wasn't in competition. France were unlucky not to score. More, yes. The question is so. James McLean has experience. I'll put a shift in for you, sure, but he's not a game changer. Will Keane should have come on sooner. Wrestling episode tonight. So much more needed energy. Restaurant episode tonight. Not sure what's happened there. I think anything that the Kenny experience is going to bring to the Irish team has come and gone. I can't see the performance being any different or better on Sunday. Are you going to the match, Glenn, on Sunday? Please let us know. Greg Foley, how can you get rid of him? They don't have a pot to piss in. I believe there is a clause. I'm not sure of that, Greg, but I believe there's a clause that for out of contention they can.
I think they can. Yeah, no, I think there is a scenario there where they can. Yeah.
Yeah. Greg, David Beckett, lads, this was such a disappointing watch. Definitely a foul on night before the first goal. Fair. We didn't get a lot from the ref. Don't think it would have made a difference results-wise anyways, but frustrating all the same. Unfortunately, writings on the wall for Kenny. Irish Jedi, comparing Kenny to previous managers' pointless exercise when you look at the level of players are playing at.
That was actually the point, and that was my point on Trapattoni getting the best out of limited players. So previous managers have gotten the best out. Even Richard Keogh, under Martin O'Neill. That's another example. Past managers getting the best out of players. Stephen Kenny has not gotten any consistent form out of any of the players. No. I don't believe. People might disagree with me, but that's what I think anyway.
Fair. Francis Sheridan, David Beckett, Kenny probably has to go, but I feel next manager will benefit from the best of his work. He has brought in a lot of new players. Yeah, I think the next one will come in, and they will find the team a lot better condition player-wise than I think Kenny did after Mick. Obviously, the performances and the results were a lot better under Mick. That's what he does. Then there again. Bigger question is who will take over after Kenny. Not sure what Lee Carsley, Damien Duff, John O'Shea, or Robbie Keane taking over because it would ruin the promising coaching careers. Still Carsley.
You need an experience. I know there's a lot of talk of Carsley. Look, he's very highly regarded. Depends who he brings in with him. I have a theory that because him and Barry Murphy were both at Man City, that the two of them could come in as a coaching ticket. But I think you need an experienced player or an experienced manager. I think you need someone with international experience, to be honest, to get the most out of this Irish team.
No, definitely agree. Moving on. Lee, Stephen Kenny couldn't manage to shop. How are we losing to the likes of Greece? Kenny plays three in the back with two young wing backs and plays midfield instead of wing backs in a wing back position. Yep, square pegs into round holes. David Beckett, aside from the game this evening, love listening to you guys. Superb coverage of Irish football. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you, David.
Kind words. Cormac Murray, has the showbiz days of Ireland international games become a thing of the past? No, they'll come back. They will come back. Trust, once the results aren't great, the performances aren't great. This happens.
Things can turn very quickly, Dave. Like we're very quick to catastrophize things with Irish football. And we're very quick to think things are unbelievable. Look at the Scotland game. We thought we were going to win the fucking World Cup. So like things can turn very, very quickly. And as I said, it could turn on Sunday. I don't think it will, but things do
No,
turn quickly in international football with Ireland. We
no,
do catastrophize, but the problem is things have been consistently bad for a long time now.
no, I do agree. Interesting nonsense. We were hard working tonight, but we were just outclassed by a great team. Still, we're dying Sunday, but let's be realistic. There's no chance of qualifying from this group now. I think that's pretty much. Trust me. Yeah. Irish Jedi, there's legit criticism such as not moving to a 4-3-3 during the Nations League campaign, but ultimately without Premier League quality in the middle of the pitch, in a group of death, we can't compete. No, but then you cut your cloth accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. Should have been. We should have a plan B. I think the last time we went 4-3-3 was against Andorra in that friendly. So we had opportunities to experiment, and they were never taken.
No. Noel Barrett was back home in Ireland over the last few weeks, and there seems to be no bus for run up to the game. No, Rugby World Cup.
None.
None. You lads mentioned ticket sales are slow for the Holland game. Public interest is waning. Then there's your answer on the Kenny situation. That's it. When the results weren't great, the FAI kept him in the job because the fans spoke with their feet, because they were like, no, he's our guy. Be very interesting now to see on Sunday that side of it. Is he still the guy for the fans? Now, the away fans tend to be the hardcore fans. Sorry, but they do. They're the ones that go to all the games. So we'll have to see it on a much wider scope on Sunday against the Dutch. We'll have to see it. And I'll be very intrigued now to see how that goes. That will be fascinating. David Beckett, hugely Fran. He's brought in loads of great young players and there's huge promise there, but Stephen Kenny isn't going to get any more out of what's there. Unfortunately, Murray, what's the hype around Lee Carsley based on? The fact that he coached, he's very highly thought of. He was at Man City, did really well at Man City, plays an attractive style of football, and he won the Euros with the under-21s without conceding a goal. Better, more attractive than what Chris Hughton's doing. Sorry, no offense, but we're going to get. I'm not saying, by the way, that Cormac, that you want Chris Hughton in, but if we get someone like Chris Hughton in, Kenny's on this press conference now, by the way. Actually, he's on the screen, and we get someone like Chris Hughton in. It's going to be boring, horrible football, and it'll just, the fans will turn on him, and it'll just tarnish him. Anyway, McDonough. St. Dahi, sorry, my voice is starting to go. No manager could do anything with the standard midfields we have available. We brought on a 34-year-old League Two player, for God's sakes. But he did select them. Jason Simons, on any word on Will Keane? Fessy surely starts Sunday. No word whatsoever.
Yeah, looked like the groin, but I haven't seen anything or heard anything. But yeah, it did look like his groin, sadly. Because he's in great form as well, and I saw a really good tweet. I can't remember who it was. It could have been Connor on Republic of Ireland tracker, but made the really good point that Will Keane is kind of an instinctive striker, a fox in the box, and he came on to basically press the centre halves on the halfway line. Like, that's not what you need from Will Keane. Will Keane's best games are probably up with another striker and poaching for goals, and he's never really done that with Ireland because he hasn't been allowed to.
No. Cut your cloth accordingly. Katrina Nolan, the energy level lifted when McLean came on. The players are clearly up against it tonight, but one of the things that seems to be missing is the drive. I don't doubt a commitment. That burst of energy, that drive to go and score seemed to be missing tonight. Hard when you're 2 down to France, though. Yeah, and it did become a bit of exhibition stuff, to be fair.
They were set up as well.
Yeah, Patrick Donovan says nothing. I'm not sure that's in response to Michael Foley, who won Euros with England's under-21. Oh, that must be the Patrick Donovan must be in response to the Carsley question. And Michael Foley said 1 Euros with England under-21. So there we go. Archduke, fuck off with the Duff talk. He's staying at Shells.
I think he's a Shells fan, yeah.
Would he give it to Roy Keane, the FAI, like a box office name? Burns, Bums on Cease, ladies. Or laddies, sorry.
Wow.
Imagine that. For me, it was playing 3 at the back against lesser teams like Gibraltar. I lacked a tactical nous. Very hard to name 3 candidates. Also, if we lose to Holland. Dave Looney, same excuse from Kenny, no matter who we play. Haven't seen the reaction. I will look at that tomorrow on the Eurostar going back. Barry Murray, Stephen Kenny has to go. There's no defending Stephen Kenny. He finishes up on that. Katrina Nolan, again, I'm in Melbourne. How you doing, Katrina? Up since 4:30 watching the match. Fair play to Katrina. Fair play to. Great to have you on, by the way. Thank you for your comments. I watch all of Ireland's matches with my fingers crossed. I'm slightly nuts where Ireland's concerned. This is probably the first time where it seemed like a foregone conclusion. I crossed my fingers around the 60-minute mark. Yeah, I my fingers were uncrossed walking into the stadium today, being honest. Barry Murray, Stephen Kenny's basically a League of Partner manager at the very best. He wasn't even up to the SPL. Adam Ida, like, sorry, Barry Murray, Adam Ida, like, what's Kenny watching? He's very bad today. I thought, no pace.
Yeah, look, I think he want like Evan Ferguson against France in Dublin. He held the ball up very well and he linked things up very well. And I thought he I suppose Kenny thought Ida was probably the closest thing you get to that kind of replacement, but you know he's not as good. Like he's a bit of pacing behind Ida, but he's not a hold up player. He really isn't. Like no, we don't really have any strikers like that. We used to have so many, but we had Gary Doherty and Noel Quinn back in the day, didn't we? But we don't have that type of centre forward now. They're all lads who should be getting into the box and getting chances, but they're asked to graft, and that's not their game.
No, Shane Daly. So why are we not back to 4-3-3? Because he doesn't want to.
Yeah, rigidness.
I think he's gonna die on that hill. 3-5 at the back. Barry Murray. So let's say Kenny leaves in the morning. What team would want him? Tells you everything you need to know. Shane Daly. Did he really have rotten luck though? Overall, yes, I think he had some terrible luck, but I also think he made a lot of mistakes as well along the way. If that's what you're talking about. I'm not sure if that's what he said in the press conference, Shane, so I'm not too sure. I haven't seen it. He is on at the moment downstairs. And McDonough, again, loving this Rover t-shirt. I go to see them in Vegas. I'm not actually. I saw them for like the 22nd time in Dublin with my brother. And you know what? For the last tour, and I think I might be happy with that one. I think in the point with my brother, he was also a massive YouTube fan. Jer, if you're watching. And I think, I think I'll leave it at that because, without Larry, what's the point? David Curley, U2's tomorrow. U2's under 21s tomorrow night on RT News Channel. We all know Kenny's shite, but he'll give those lads senior caps quicker and we'll have a better chance of being better 5 years from now. Then get a better manager. Ben McMenamin, I think Guide is the worst starting strike for Ireland. I think McGoldrick is better than him.
Well, he's in good form, McGoldrick, but sadly, I think his Ireland days are over.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be doing that in.
No, I think he would have struggled tonight somehow.
Somehow, was that really the best we had to put on the pitch? Outside defenders constantly beating to corner, and all we do is force ball inside and play back. Never utilised our outside middies and tried to stretch the field time for changes.
I've never heard the term middies before, but middies. I like it.
It's not bad. Michael Foley, well, come on, the boys, agreeing the Rugby World Cup. Let's not lay an egg there. Let's get past the quarters. Kenny Rivera, hi, Kenny, how you doing? Sorry, Nick. Sometimes you just fly through them and you just like to come up. Okay, Barry Murray, Kieran McKenna might be tempted. Extremely highly rated by all in the game.
Yeah, look, just on McKenna, excellent manager. I think he's onto something really special with Ipswich. They have they're an example of a very limited team where a manager is getting the best out of them. Like they're one of the favourites for promotion this season. I think they're actually third. Now look, we're only 6 games into the season, the championship, but they're one of the favourites based on the fact that Kieran McKenna is playing such a good brand of football there. I don't think we'd be able to get him somehow, but yeah, definitely a name to be thrown in the mix, 100%.
Yeah. Last couple coming on here. Cormac Murray, what about Vera Pauw to get a shot at the men's team? I mean, in all realistic, nothing against Vera Pauw, by the way. I need to see more information before I comment on that, before I give a proper opinion on that. I need to see more information what's come out there. But I think it's a whole different, if it's a serious question, like it's a whole different ball game. Look, coaching a men's team than is with a women's team. So no, I think I don't think that would be doing. And besides, she doesn't play 4-3-3 either, so the FAI can't hire her. Ashley Kavanagh, playing against the best team in the world, and he took easy on us, thank God. He's going to come in and manage Ireland. Alan O'Donovan, a real lack of quality in the midfield. The only player like is tonight. We desperately need to change the system so that we have more numbers in the midfield area. Maybe we should give Vera Pauw a chap. And rugby, the big winner tonight. Barry Murray, I'm not going to mention your comment there.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing, Dave. I mean, the narrative switches so much. When the footballers are doing well, the rugby teams are the villain, and then when the rugby team are doing badly, when the football team are doing badly, the rugby teams are the heroes. So it swings. It swings so much. But look, a Rugby World Cup is a big thing. I know there's a lot of anti-rugby people on, that listen to the podcast and that are big into football. But, at the end of the day, they're unbelievable athletes. Say what you want about them being from D4 and all that kind of thing, but they're a phenomenal team, great mentality, and they can make a lot of people very happy over the next few weeks.
Won't make me happy. Cormac Murray, was McKenna involved with Solskjaer or Van Gaal?
Yeah. He was, I think he was one of Mourinho's coaches, and then Solskjaer. Oh, no. I think Mourinho hired him from Spurs, and then I think Solskjaer had him for his whole tenure, and then he was sacked along with Solskjaer. I think.
There you go.
I'm open to correction there.
I knew if anyone would know, Nick would certainly know that one. Well, that's all we have time for, because I think my voice is going to go, and I need to find my way back to my hotel. I might just looking here on the app. Anyway, so there you go. We lost 2-0. Our wait goes on to beat France in a game, if you don't include the 90-minute win over Ireland 2009 on the other side of Paris. 1981 was the last time we beat them. I think 1937 was the last time we beat them here, if you don't include the Henry game. And yeah, tonight we were miles away from it. So there you have it. Thank you guys for coming on and giving us your opinions and getting involved. Your support means everything to us, and I really, really appreciate it. We love you, and thank you so much. We are going to be back with a preview on Saturday, and then we're going to be going with the pre-game live and the aftermath on the Sunday, and then on the Monday, when I literally fly in the door, and I think Martin as well, we will be coming at you with a review of the window. So could be a very interesting one indeed. There'll be no script for that one. It's just tell us what you think. As always, we are Irish football's most interactive podcast, and we are going to bid you good night. We love you. Thank you very much. And we will see you on the next one. Where is that bloody video? Every time it gets me. Anyway, good night. Au revoir. All the best.